Hey there, future sociologists! Have you ever looked around your city and just wondered, how did this all get here? And more importantly, how can I make it better? Well, if that's you, then you are in exactly the right place. Today, we're going to dive into a career that lets you take everything you're learning about society and literally build it into the world around us. So let's kick things off with the one big question this whole career path is trying to answer.
This is the big one, right? As a sociology student, you are learning all about the incredibly complex forces that shape how we all interact. But how do you take that knowledge and, apply it in a way that leaves a real, lasting physical mark on the world? We're about to find out how one amazing career does exactly that.
All right, first up, let's connect the dots between the world of sociology and the actual hands-on practice of building cities. You see, urban planning is so much more than just drawing maps or dealing with zoning laws. It's really about designing the stage where all of our lives play out, every single day.
Now, I want you to look closely at this definition. See that phrase, applied social science? That's the whole ballgame right there. This isn't just some technical field. No, it's a profession that takes the core principles of social science and uses them to actively make communities better places to live. Your sociology degree isn't just relevant here, it's the foundation for everything.
So what does a planner actually do all day? Well, they're the ultimate multitaskers, for sure. One day, they could be hashing out a long-term plan for a brand new public park. The next, they're trying to figure out how to design a better bus route or create more affordable housing. And this really gets to the core of the challenge, doesn't it? It's all about balancing the needs of everyone involved, from city officials and developers to, most importantly, the people who actually live there.
Okay, so we've talked about the what. Let's switch gears and get into the how. We're going to move from the big ideas to the really practical stuff, looking at the tools planners use every day and, what you can expect when it comes to things like job security and a paycheck.
A huge part of this job is being a data detective. Planners use some pretty cool tools like GIS software along with census data and market research to piece together the story of a place. They're looking for patterns in everything: population density, traffic flow, environmental risks, all to make the most informed decisions possible.
But, and this is a big but, it is not all about staring at screens and spreadsheets. The other equally important half of the toolkit is all about dialogue. Honestly, a planner's best skill is often communication. It's about leading a packed public meeting, really listening to what residents are saying, and finding a way to build consensus. This is where your sociological understanding of people and group dynamics becomes a legitimate superpower.
So what's the career path look like on paper? Well, the typical way in is with a master's degree. The job market itself is pretty stable. It's growing at about the average rate for all jobs. And that makes sense, right? This isn't some fleeting trend. As long as we have towns and cities, we are going to need people who can help them grow in a smart, thoughtful way.
And what about the money? Well, the median pay back in 2024 was over $83,000 a year. And that's fantastic because it shows that you don't have to choose between having a purpose and having a paycheck. You can absolutely do good for the world while building a really solid financial future for yourself.
Now, to really get to the soul of urban planning, we kind of have to look back at its history. And there is no better way to do that than by telling the story of two absolute giants in the field. Two people whose clashing visions for what a city should be perfectly capture the big sociological debates that still define planning today.
So on one side, you have Robert Moses, the so-called master builder of New York City. He saw the city as this giant machine that needed to be optimized. He built massive highways and huge projects from the top down, often steamrolling right through existing neighborhoods. And then on the other side, you have Jane Jacobs. She wasn't a builder, she was an advocate for the community. She fought for a bottoms-up approach, arguing that the real life of a city, its heart and soul, comes from its streets, its local shops, and its people.
Okay, so this epic battle between Moses and Jacobs, it's not just a cool history lesson. It is a perfect real-world example of the core sociological theories that you are studying in your classes right now. This is where we connect the abstract theory to the actual concrete streets you walk on every single day.
You could say that Robert Moses was, in a lot of ways, a pure functionalist. He looked at the city through this lens of human ecology. He saw it as a system of interlocking parts, like highways, business districts, and suburbs, that all needed to be organized for maximum efficiency. It's a view that really prioritizes order and function, sometimes, though, at a very high human cost.
Jane Jacobs, on the other hand, pretty much embodied the conflict perspective. She saw that these so-called efficient plans weren't neutral. They were often conscious choices made by the powerful,
that helped some groups, usually the wealthy, while hurting and displacing others. This perspective forces us to ask that critical question: who wins and who loses when a city changes?
This quote just nails the conflict view on a modern issue like gentrification. A planner who doesn't have that sociological lens might just see rising property values and call it renewal. But with your training, you see the deeper story, right? You see the erosion of community bonds, the displacement of culture. This critical perspective is exactly what you bring to the table.
So, you're fired up. You have this powerful perspective. How do you turn it into an actual career? Let's map out your personal blueprint for success and show you step by step how the skills you are building right now are exactly what the world of urban planning is looking for.
Just look at this. It's almost a perfect one-to-one match. The skills you're developing in your sociology classes, evaluating complex data, communicating ideas, digging into the roots of social problems, and thinking ethically about power, these aren't just helpful for a planner. They are the absolute core competencies of a great planner. Your degree is direct training for this job.
Ready to get going? Here's a simple 3-step game plan. First, crush your relevant courses, especially things like urban sociology. Second, get some hands-on experience through an internship. This is so crucial. And third, start researching master's programs that will give you the specialized technical skills to go with that amazing sociological foundation you're building. At the end of the day, this is a career where you can see your impact. It's about so much more than a title or a salary. It's about that deep, incredible feeling of satisfaction you get when you see your work come to life, knowing you had a real hand in creating something lasting and important for your community.
And so, let's end where we began, with a question aimed directly at you. With your unique understanding of how society works, with the tools of a planner in your hands, what kind of future will you design? What kind of community will you help build? The blueprint is yours to draw.